free world.
Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline, tape up and shape up.
Hail to the culture, a Washington Redskins podcast. Bryce and Rome back at you. Rome, what up, bro?
What's up, baby?
Hey, man, I can't complain, especially after the big W against the Cowboys last week. We got the Giants coming in a few days. Oh, man, could be a trap game, could be a turn-the-corner game. How you feel about it, man?
Man, I'm still loving this Cowboys win, man. I've been rubbing it in people's faces all week. But as far as moving forward to this Giants game, I personally feel like it's a bit of a trap game. I know a lot of people out there have been saying it's not much of a trap game, but we're going to get into all that. We're going to talk about all that in our first segment, which, as always, is the state of the franchise, state of the culture. So I'm going to review a little bit of the quick history with the Giants. It hasn't been pretty, especially up in New York. I believe we are 3-5 under Coach Gruden against the Giants and 1-3 on the road in New York with Coach Gruden. I want to say that the Redskins, actually I have it right in front of me. They've only won 2 times since I've graduated high school in 2008. I just had my 10-year reunion the other day. So Washington has won 2 times in New York in the past 10 years. That's something that's definitely got to change. And this is a good time to change it, man, because as we all know, the Giants are struggling. So let's go ahead and talk about what a win or a loss would mean, man. What would you say a win does for this team if we win up here in New York?
Well, yeah, like you talked about last episode, man, and like I mentioned in the very beginning of this one, this game is one of 2 things. It's either a trap game or it's a turn the corner game. And however our skins decide to look at it is most likely going to be the outcome. If we come into this game looking at it as a trap game, like, oh, man, these guys could beat us, I mean, we're probably going to lose. But if we look at this game just like any other game and we get the W, this could be us turning the corner to where each game holds the same amount of weight to our players. To me, a win here means we turn the corner. A loss means same old Redskins.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. A win means that we're a legitimate threat in the NFC. I think teams would really have to start looking at the Redskins like, hey, man, they could be pushing for maybe even a possible bye, because that would put us in the driver's seat in the NFC East. We'll talk a little bit more about the Eagles-Jaguars game in a little bit. But, yeah, depending on what happens around the rest of the league, a win here puts Washington in prime position to be a powerhouse. A loss, I would agree with you 100% again. That the same old Redskins, not really much to talk about if we lose other than why or how they would lose. But
one more thing I want to throw in there before we move on. This game, to me, also will say a lot about Jay Gruden. Has Jay learned how to inspire his guys week in and week out? Because, I mean, it's clear that the Giants, talent-wise, are not on the same level as the Redskins right now. So the question remains, can Jay Gruden fire his guys up enough to go out and get a W? We all know what happened with the Giants last time. We had a chance to really make us something out of our season, and the Giants were playing for nothing and still got the W. That was an indictment on Jay Gruden, in my opinion. Can Jay fire up the guys and get them ready for a game where they might not be as inspired because of the competition? It's yet to be seen, but it'll definitely tell us if Jay Gruden is turning the corner as a coach.
That's actually an extremely important point, actually. I'm going to piggyback off that because, like you were saying earlier, I don't think the players should look at this as a trap game. I honestly think this is more so of a trap game for Coach Gruden, because if we do lose, what are we going to all be saying? Coach Gruden didn't get those guys prepared, just like how you were just illuminating. So I agree with you 100%, man. This is a big game for Coach Gruden. I already talked about his record in New York as a head coach. So, yeah, he needs to win. He needs to make sure that these guys are fired up and ready to go, because they can't afford to lay an egg, especially when they have some superstar talent. As bad as the Giants are, They have some superstars on offense. Let's talk about a little bit about those, man. What player are you most worried about on this Giants offense? And they got a lot of them.
They got a lot of them, man. They got a lot of them. Well, obviously we've got Saquon, we've got OBJ, so we've got two huge guys right there. But and we've also got Sterling Shepard. But the guy I'm most worried about, well, honestly, now the more I think about it, is two guys. The first guy I'm most worried about is Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is a matchup nightmare, especially for our linebackers. If we could get a lot of Harvey Clemens out there on him, I'd be comfortable. But you got to think that he'll be tasked with Saquon Barkley most of the time he's in the game. Evan Ingram is going to be a tough matchup on the second level for our linebackers to handle. Mason Foster versus Evan Ingram's quickness, I don't really like that matchup. Zach Brown, I do like a little bit more against him, but in the base, I think he'll be following Saquon a lot too. And I think that is going to leave a lot of Mason Foster against Evan Ingram. And my boy is going to have to rise to the challenge because Evan Ingram has that sneaky ability to put you to sleep with his routes, and then all of a sudden explodes and he's wide open. And that's definitely not what I want to see. So running into my second Giants player I'm pretty worried about. And this one is just based off the fact that I think this season he's actually played at a B to B plus level, but's been getting credit for about an F to D level, and that's Eli Manning. I went back and watched some All-22 footage on the Giants, and the more I watch Eli, the better and better I think he's actually playing. I don't think he's the Giants' real problem. To me, the more I watch, it's clearly the offensive line. So if Eli can get out here and get on one of those hot streaks, you know what I mean, where he's getting the ball in his hands instantly, finding quick passes to Ingram, to OBJ, even to Barkley out the backfield, this could end up being a shootout, especially the way, or not a shootout, but at least a close game, especially the way the Redskins have kind of gone down to the wire in just about every game.
Yeah, man, definitely. I can see Eli getting hot. I don't know if he's still got it, but I could definitely see him getting hot just because of the weapons, man. The player I'm most afraid of or most worried about in this game specifically is Odell Beckham Jr. Part of that is due to injuries. I'm going to talk a little bit about the injury news real quick. I'll just give you guys a rundown. Zach Brown, who you were just talking about, is going to be very important in this game, had a bit of an illness this week, so he didn't practice Wednesday and Thursday. Hopefully he can get some practice time on Friday, but he should be playing. Jamison Crowder is more than likely out. He hasn't practiced yet. He is out of his walking boot, which is a good sign. AP earned Wednesdays off, which is great, so he won't be practicing at all on Wednesdays. They're probably going to take it easy. I believe Coach Gruden realizes he's got to ride the hot hand with that. And then Paul Richardson and Chris Thompson are also back on track to play. But the biggest injury that I want to tie into why I'm most worried about Odell Beckham is Quentin Dunbar. So Dunbar got hurt in practice, apparently got kicked in the shin, and now they're saying that he might have some type of nerve damage. It's making it hard for him to run. They're saying whenever he runs, he has extreme pain. Sometimes the leg gives out on him. So as you know, as a cornerback, if you can't run, you can't play. And if you can't run, you definitely damn sure can't cover Odell Beckham Jr., which changes the entire dynamic of the game with Quentin Dunbar not out there. If Quentin Dunbar's not out there, you now have Greg Stroman out there. I can't emphasize this enough. Greg Stroman cannot cover Odell Beckham Jr. I'm going to say that one more time. Greg Stroman cannot cover Odell Beckham Jr. There's no scenario where the Redskins, I don't care if we're in man, I don't care if we're in zone, you don't want Greg Stroman lining up on Odell Beckham Jr. What's going to happen if Stroman is out there, the Redskins are going to have to do something with Josh Norman that the fans have been begging for since Josh Norman came, since Josh Norman has been asking for since he came, and since pretty much all the national media has been wondering why he doesn't do it, and that's travel. He's going to have to travel with Odell if Greg's out there. Maybe not in the slot. Maybe you can leave Fabian on him in the slot, take your chances. But Greg Stroman has played a handful of games, a handful of snaps. He's not ready to cover Odell Beckham Jr. Odell could possibly be the best receiver in the league. That's debatable. A lot of people would say he is. So why in the world would you line a seventh-round rookie up on him? That is a mistake. So I am most worried about OBJ and how the Redskins plan to cover him in this game.
Yeah, man. I think I can echo those sentiments for sure. Don't get me wrong. I like Strowman, and he's a fiery guy, which is clear to see, man. Like he goes hard. He's up for the fight. But that double move that Michael Gallup put on him against the Cowboys made Michael Gallup look more like Michael Irvin. And that's just not it. That's just not it, man. And that definitely worries me. One thing I will say though, Strowman came back out and made some plays. But I don't know, Ron. What do you think? Do you think Strowman can hang like as a starter? I mean, what did you see from him in that Cowboys game that got you kind of feeling like OBJ will tear him up?
Well, I do love Strowman's game, and I love that they picked him in the 7th round. I think that was a great pick, and I see him developing into a pretty solid corner. But, I mean, looking at the All-22 film, as we do here at Hell to the Culture, Strowman on that touchdown pass, or that touchdown, the strip sack with Preston Smith and Ryan Kerrigan, on that very play, the Cowboys ran double moves, out and ups on the outside. Josh Norman ran with his guy. Greg Strowman was trailing his guy by about 3 or 4 yards, which, if the sack doesn't happen, probably would have led to another touchdown or certainly a big play. So Strowman is very susceptible to the double move. And what's OBJ best at? The double move. He'll get Norman. I'm worried about him one-on-one with Norman hitting the double move. Because I was looking at some of the other film when they were playing the Eagles. He was killing guys with double moves. So it's no disrespect to Strowman. And I don't think anyone should take that as disrespect. I mean, you have a 7th-round rookie against a Hall of Fame talent. It doesn't take a genius to realize that is a mismatch. So no shade to Strowman. I think his game is great, and I think he's going to develop into a wonderful player. But I don't want to see him take any lumps out here in New York. So let's avoid the New York lumps.
Yeah, I feel that, man. Yeah, shout out to Strowman, though. I definitely think he's had a bright future. So let's move right along, man. Rome, I checked out your article this week about Alex Smith, man, and that was great work, man. So let's get into that. Should Redskins fans be patient with Alex Smith? Rome, state your case.
Yeah, man, I believe that we absolutely have to be patient with Alex Smith. I know since the bye week it has been pretty dismal. Since the bye week, it's kind of been hard to even justify the trade at all. His completion percentage has gone down. It's been in the 50s, which is terrible, especially in today's NFL. But I want everyone to keep in mind that a big part of that is due to injuries. Paul Richardson Jr. has been hurt. He's been playing hurt this entire season, hasn't been practicing, hasn't really been able to build a rapport with Alex Smith. Jamison Crowder being out changes how defenses will defend you. So they're not as worried about the slot receiver. No disrespect to Mo Harris, but he's not Jamison Crowder. So it's changing how they defend people. The guys on the outside are getting locked up. He's not able to trust the receivers that he's out there playing with. Michael Floyd, I believe, has been on the team for about a month. Mo Harris missed about a month of practice time with a concussion injury. So the guys that were out there these last couple of weeks haven't been practicing with Alex Smith, and it's hard to really build a quarterback-receiver relationship if you're not even getting the reps in practice. But I think Alex Smith and Jay Gruden will definitely get this worked out. Once Crowder and Richardson are both back in the lineup, I think it'll look a lot different, especially with Reed out there as well and Chris Thompson. So, I mean, I get where all the hate is coming from, and he needs to play better. He's missed some passes. But I definitely think he's not playing with a full deck of cards. And once the season progresses and that full deck is there, I expect to see some much bigger numbers from Alex Smith.
Yeah, I tend to agree mostly with that. I think the most concerning point for me with Alex this season has been how quickly he's leaving the pocket. I always felt that Alex had a good feel for the pocket. And this season, to me, I feel like he's left the pocket early sometimes. He's felt pressure that wasn't there. And sometimes, like while he's in the pocket with the clean pocket, it's just he opts to get out. He opts to leave. And it's like, man, stay there. You'll find guys. I think it was one play in particular in the Cowboys game where he just stuck in the pocket for a solid 4 seconds and went through about 3 reads and found the open man. I think it was Jordan Reed for about 15, 20 yards. And like that to me is the Alex Smith we need. We need Alex staying in that pocket, staying tough, trust your O-line. You got some big boys. They're doing work. And just trust those guys. I think we'll see a lot more big plays in the passing game.
Yeah, I agree with that. There was a play in the Dallas game where he bailed from the pocket too early, and Mo Harris ended up streaking across the field wide open. And that's honestly what led me to start to thinking that he just doesn't have enough chemistry and enough trust with these guys that he's out there playing with to know, hey, just wait one more second, Mo Harris is going to be right there. You know what I mean? But I think that'll all change over time.
Yeah, I agree, man. I definitely think the performance has been so bad that it can only go up. And let's look at it like this: the Skins are 4-2 with this terrible quarterback performance. So that's a little bit of perspective to have. Once he starts to play a little better, man, just imagine the ceiling for this team. If the defense continues to play like this and we get some adequate quarterback play, I mean, the ceiling is very high.
Definitely.
So let's jump into the NFC East, man. Got a lot going on in the NFC East, especially with the Eagles traveling to London, man. That, to me, whenever you're going overseas, the definition of out of the country, like those are trap games to me. Just because it's a whole different landscape, a whole different environment. And in this situation, the Jaguars are kind of used to playing in London, and Blake Bortles plays his best ball in London. And in addition to that, the Jags are coming off, you know, not their best performances, you know. So, I mean, what do you think about the Jaguars' chances versus the Eagles?
I kind of like Jacksonville's chances versus the Eagles. If I had to pick, if you were putting me in the hot seat, asking me to pick which one's going to win, I'd probably lean towards more the Eagles, just because I don't trust Blake Bortles. I never have, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how that man is still a starting quarterback when Colin Kaepernick's not even in the league. But that's a whole other discussion. Anyway, if the Jacksonville Jaguars are able to beat the Philadelphia Eagles in London, though, I think for the Redskins, man, that creates a huge opportunity, especially with the win, like I was saying earlier. That puts us right there at the top of the entire NFC, right below the Rams and the Saints, I believe, right there with the Vikings. So, I mean, I'm gonna be cheering for Jacksonville and hoping that they can pull this off, but I'm leaning a little bit towards the Eagles, man.
Yeah, man. I can see that. I'm going Jaguars in this game. I've been calling the Eagles games pretty well this season, so hopefully that can keep going. But I'm going Jaguars in this game just because after they got embarrassed against Dallas, I mean, you know they have a chip on their shoulder, and then they went into the Texans and they played better football, at least defensively, but Blake Bortles just was not up to the challenge. Now with Cody Kessler breathing down his neck, you got to expect Blake Bortles to ramp it up a little bit. To me, Blake is definitely a guy that does well under pressure, in my estimation. Just, you don't believe me, just look at last year's playoffs. So I personally, I'm going with the Jaguars in this game, but it should be a good one though. It should be a good one. It's overseas, so you got to expect a tough game. I'll tell you one thing: the Jaguars are not getting blown out 40-7 like they did versus the Cowboys. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't see that happening. I think this will definitely be a tight game. I'm literally just leaning towards the Eagles because of Bortles, but hey, man, you never know. Jacksonville does have a good record up in London, and so does Bortles. So this could definitely go either way, and it will benefit the Redskins if the Eagles lose. So.
Yeah, no, that's facts. That's facts. It would definitely benefit the Skins because at this point, I think the Eagles are really the only team, especially after beating the Cowboys. I think the Eagles are the only team we truly got to worry about in this NFC East race.
Yeah, the more victories we can pile up now before we even play them, the better.
Yeah, definitely. And with the Cowboys on bye, not too much to worry about there. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to get Amari Cooper acclimated enough in time for their next game, but that'll just yet to be seen. What are your expectations on with Amari Cooper on the Cowboys? Do you think that'll work out? Do you think that's just a bad move?
I think it's a bad move. I don't think it's going to work out. You can't just Amari. As good as Amari Cooper is, he's not. What's going to happen is teams are going to double team Amari, and it's going to be just like when they had Dez, and then you're gonna have to throw to all those other guys that aren't making plays. So it's gonna put more pressure on Dak. Dak's gonna have to make something happen. He's gonna have his number one guy now. But I don't want to seem like a Cowboy hater, but I don't foresee this move changing very much. If anything, it's gonna set the Cowboys back for giving up those first round picks. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there, man. It'll be interesting though to see how that unfolds. All right, so let's jump into the next segment. Let's get back to our Skins. let's get some bold predictions in, Rome. Bold predictions. Can I get one from you, man? What do you see happening in this game that's really going to stand out?
Man, all right, so my bold prediction, this is one of my favorite segments that we do. I love making crazy predictions, especially about the Redskins. My bold prediction for this game is Alex Smith will throw 4 touchdown passes. So, as you were mentioning earlier, I wrote a little something about being patient with Alex Smith. And I've been campaigning for Alex Smith ever since we traded for him, really. I love the move. I think this is a great trade, kept the Redskins out of quarterback purgatory. But so far, Alex Smith has not delivered to what I was expecting or to what anyone else was expecting. But I think that changes this Sunday. I think the Giants are a 1-6 team. I know it feels like a trap game. I know we've been talking about that, and I've said it kind of is a trap game. But I think once the players get out there, I think they're going to be so laser focused. I think they're going to put all that trap game nonsense behind them. It's just going to be another Sunday, and they're playing a team that's 1-6. They're playing one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I think that's going to show. They just traded Eli Apple. That can't sit well with some of those other guys knowing, hey, I could be next. So the secondary is going to be in shambles. They will have some guys out there that are hungry to play, I'm sure, because those guys have been sitting on the bench. But I just don't see the Giants getting it together this week after they just jettison some of their top players away. So maybe the Giants will turn it around at some point this season, but I don't see it happening this week. And I see Alex Smith taking big advantage of that and throwing for 4 TDs against this Giants defense.
Oh, man, that'll be lit. I hope that's going to happen. And let's just hope you're Nostradamus on this one, man. So let me jump into my predictions. Like you, this is one of my favorite segments that we do. I've been on a little hot streak with my bold predictions, which makes me think that they haven't been too bold. So I'm going really bold. I'm going really bold this week. And I'm saying that Saquon Barkley will have under 80 total yards. I mean, look. If Saquon has under 80 total yards and the Skins lose, I would be shocked. The way the Skins have held running backs, to nothing, to so little this year is just it's been great to see, especially considering what we came from in the running game. I mean, to me, Saquon is most similar to Alvin Kamara, who we faced earlier this season. I mean, and even he couldn't do much on us at all. So that's my bold prediction. I'm going Saquon under 80 total yards. Let's jump into some keys to victory, Rome. What are your keys to victory?
All right, man. We were talking about this earlier with the Quentin Dunbar injury and Odell Beckham. So my key to victory is definitely going to be the flight marshals. Those guys got to play big. If Dunbar can't play, like I was saying, Norman's going to have to travel with OBJ. It's kind of like how you were mentioning, man, on the film you were watching, man. Eli, yeah, he's been struggling, but he's still a Hall of Fame level quarterback. And like you say, if he can get hot, and that's all it's really going to take for the Giants. So I'm going to put it up on the flight marshals, man. They got to hold it down. DJ Swearinger was on national TV talking about, they're trying to be like the 2000 Ravens defense and all that. So whenever you get out there and you start talking big, you gotta keep backing it up. And I believe those guys will. So that's going to be my key to victory is the flight marshals holding OBJ, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, all these weapons that the Giants have, holding them down is going to be the key to victory. What you got?
Well, my bad, but you gotta love DJ Swearinger, man, and his swag, man. You gotta love it. You gotta love that confidence he brings. If we get anything near the 2000 Ravens defense, oh man, that'd be great for our Skins. So I got a few keys to victory. First one is going to be the running game. The running game will be pivotal in this game. The Giants, as we all know, they've got a fire sale going on. They're getting rid of players left and right. One of those players was Big Snacks Harrison, one of the best run stuffers in the league. Don't get me wrong, I think they still got Jenkins behind him, but without Big Snacks, you know that Giants interior is going to be hurting. If we can get AP going, that'll definitely help our cause in getting that W. My next key to the victory is the pass rush. Our bookends, our outside linebackers, they showed up last week. Kerrigan, Preston Smith both had huge games. I'm gonna need another one because I know our D line is showing up. That's one thing I know this season. Our D line is showing up. The question is now, is our outside linebackers going to show up every week going forward? If that's the case and Eli doesn't have time, because that's one thing. When you pressure Eli and you give him time, he starts making the Eli Manning face. If you don't know what the Eli Manning face is, Google it. I want to see the Eli Manning face and that's going to happen only with our pass rush. My last key to the game, and this is kind of, I think we've kind of harped on this throughout the episode today, is not taking this game lightly. The Giants are 1-6, but they've been in so many close games that they could easily be 4-2, just like the Redskins. And we've had so many close games that honestly we could be 1-6. So,
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we got to come out and take this game as seriously as possible. Come out with the same fire that we came out against the Cowboys. And I do think that we'll see us get the W, but we cannot take this game lightly. It will be pivotal.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. The players have to avoid the trap game scenario, and Coach Gruden has to make sure that they avoid the trap game scenario. So you want to get into this around the league segment real quick, man? There's someone on the trade block I think you were going to talk about.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. So one of the biggest names on the trade block right now is one of the top cornerbacks in the league over the past 5 years. He's been one of the best, and we're talking about Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson, you can't not tell me he's a top 3 corner. If you can find 2 guys better than him, I may agree. If you can find 3, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. Patrick Peterson is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. In my opinion, maybe not a generational type talent, but close to a generational type talent. I mean, you got him on the field. He's locking down one whole side. The question is, how much is Patrick Peterson worth in your estimation? Rome, what would you give up for Patrick? I remember you said you wouldn't do the first for Amari Cooper. Would you do the first for Peterson?
All right, well, this is probably why I'm not an NFL GM, but I would definitely give up a first-round pick for Patrick Peterson. I agree with you. He's once in a generation. I think he's the best cornerback playing right now, and I think he has been for a while. I know Jalen Ramsey's been doing a lot of talking. His team was just recently made a deep playoff run, and that's why everyone was viewing Jalen Ramsey as the best corner. I pay a lot of attention to cornerbacks. It's my favorite position. I'm not going to act like I'm like a aficionado on it, but I know my mess when it comes to cornerback play. Patrick Peterson is better than Jalen Ramsey. If anyone who doesn't believe me, I'll be happy to break that down for you on a separate occasion. I would definitely give up a first-round pick for him, no question. He's the best corner in the league. Like you say, he definitely locks down one half of the field. And the only reason people who don't pay close attention have kind of gotten off him being the best is because the Cardinals have been trash. No one's thinking about the Cardinals. No one's talking about the Cardinals. But all the while, Patrick Peterson has been dominating that position. So I would give up a first-round pick for him, no question. If I'm the Redskins, I don't know. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about that. I think you have a pretty interesting take on this Josh Norman situation. What do you think the Skins should do?
Well, I mean, if I'm the Skins, I'm pulling the trigger. And this is because just imagine our defense the rest of the season, the way our D-line's been balling. If you got Josh Norman on one side and Patrick Peterson on the other, I mean, pick your slot. At that point, I don't care if it's Dunbar. I don't care if it's Moreau. I don't even care if it's Holsey coming back from injury. If you got Norman and Peterson on the outsides with that D-line, you are going to terrorize offenses for the rest of the season. Now, let's dig into the Josh Norman situation a little bit more. As we know, Josh Norman makes upwards of $17 million a year, which is a lot of money for a corner. Patrick Peterson makes around 11, which is a bargain for a player of his caliber. So let's look at it like this. We make the trade for Patrick Peterson. We surrender a first-round pick. Most likely, as a Redskin, you're moving on from Josh Norman next season just because of how much dead money's on the cap. So let's just say you're moving on from Josh Norman either way next season. If you do that, most likely your first-round pick would have to be a corner because you would have to shore up that unit with losing Josh Norman. So if you already trade your first-rounder for Patrick Peterson, a guy that you know is a stud, who still has this year remaining and 2 years after this on this deal, so you get 2.5 years of Peterson, you got to lose the first-round pick, but you also lose Norman in the process. So now you have a better cornerback one than you've ever had because Peterson is surely better than Norman, and for the rest of this season, you perhaps have the best secondary in the league with Norman and Peterson. So, I mean, even let's say we bring in Peterson and Norman somehow balls out this season. Well, next year, you'd be looking at Patrick Peterson at about $13 million, Josh Norman at about $17 million. You may be able to figure out some sort of restructure to keep both of those guys around. And, like, with those two guys at the cornerbacks, man, the rest of this season, it would be very, very tough to pass against the Redskins. It's already tough to run against them. But if you get those two guys, man, right now I think we're 13th in the passing defense. you would definitely see us go to top 5 and not only rush defense, but pass D as well. So, man, that would be a move I would love. Petey's one of my favorite players in the league, so if we could bring him in, honestly, I'd be down for a package deal. I'd throw a first and a fourth for Patrick Peterson and Larry Fitzgerald. We've got a ton of compensatory draft picks. Let's get this done. Let's get Larry Fitz in for our wide receiver help. It was a tough receiver to go over the middle. And let's get Patrick Peterson for the first-round pick. I would love the move. I think it's something the Skins should be looking into.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. I would love to see Larry come over here for a few seasons. And I'm definitely all in on the Patrick Peterson. I don't know if it'll happen. I do hear what you're saying about Josh Norman. But I would think even if the Redskins don't trade for Peterson come the end of the season, Norman's either going to have to restructure that deal or hit the road because, he's going to be getting paid a little bit too much. And I think he has to recognize that too. But maybe we can have that discussion on another pod because that's actually a good one, man. Like, what are the Redskins going to do with Josh Norman at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a great pod to have, man. We might have to do that towards the end of the season. Give the people some free agency talk.
Definitely. You want to jump into the greatest Redskins countdown?
Yeah, let's do it, man. For anyone that doesn't know about this segment, the greatest Redskins countdown has nothing to do with how good the player was. It's only about what place the player held in your heart. As a Redskins fan, we all know that we really fall in love with some of these players, and they might not be the best sometimes, but it's something about their swag on the field. It's something about their dedication to the team. It's something about what they do in the community that holds them near and dear to us. So that's kind of what this segment represents. So I don't want anyone to hear our guys and think that these are the best Redskins of all time, because it's not. And we weren't around for Sonny Jurgensen and Kilmer. So we're going to give you guys our greatest Redskins countdown. Rome, let's do it, man.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started. My greatest Redskin today is going to be Brad Johnson. Now, just like Bryce was saying, he definitely wasn't one of the greatest Redskins quarterbacks of all time. He's probably not going to be in our Ring of Fame or anything like that. But for me, Brad Johnson represents a time in my life where the Redskins, they weren't winners. When I was young and I was coming up, the Redskins were not winners. I was born in '89, so I was a little bit too young to enjoy the Super Bowl victory of '91. But once I was old enough to actually watch the games and enjoy it, we had Heath Schuler, Gus Frerotte. I mean, we were the bottom of the NFC East year in and year out. Eventually, we got Brad Johnson for a couple seasons, and he turned those things around, man. He actually had us competing for the playoffs. We won the division in '99, won a playoff game that year, and that was the first time that I ever got to see my Redskins in a positive light as far as winning games and not just competing and then losing, but like actually being a playoff team. So I mean, it sucks. It's a little bittersweet because, as we all know, he ended up leaving the Redskins and then taking Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl. But I have fond memories of Brad Johnson. He threw for 4,000 yards one year. I think he had about 24 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Made the Pro Bowl that year. We won the division. So yeah, I have nothing but fond memories of Brad Johnson. And I think Bryce's greatest Redskin might tie into a little bit to that. Who you got for us today, Bryce?
Oh, yeah, man. Definitely shout out to my boy Brad Johnson, though, man. Every time I think of Brad Johnson, I think about this big old face mask he used to wear. That was definitely my guy, man. I can still remember him chucking it up to Michael Westbrook and James Thrash and those guys, man. Those were my dudes back in the day. So
yeah, James Thrash. He might end up making this countdown one day. Keep that name in mind.
Man. Oh, man, he's got to make it, man. James Thrash was our do-it-all guy for years. So this week, I'm going with a guy who was around for that Brad Johnson era and also made a resurgence during the Joe Gibbs era. I'm talking about Big 45 Mike Sellers. If you guys don't know about Mike Sellers and you don't know what he meant to the Skins at the time, then you need to go back and throw on some of those films, man. Mike Sellers was never a guy with a ton of rushing yards or a ton of touchdowns, but he did the dirty work that we needed. He was a special teams ace. He was blowing people up at the fullback position. Man, Mike Sellers was that guy. And let's not forget about the face paint eye black he used to wear. I think he started that trend before my boy Mason Foster. Mike Sellers was that dude. I can remember on his second stint with the Skins, he came back and was like, he learned how to, like, rush the ball. I mean, Mike Sellers used to be lining up at running back sometimes, and he really was, like, succeeding at running back, you know? So it just goes to show you how versatile of a player he was, how much of a team guy he was. Yeah, Mike Sellers, my dude, man. We might have to get Mike Sellers on the pod one day. I think that'd be a good look.
Yeah, man, Mike Sellers is definitely one of those dudes where you watch him hit someone and then, like, that dude's getting up like, damn, do I really want to play football still? Like, he used to light people up, bro. Like, man, I used to love watching Mike Sellers lead block for Clinton Portis. That gets me hyped, man. I could watch highlights of that right now and just Mike Sellers was that dude, bro. He was definitely that dude. I would love to have him on the pod, man. Shout out Mike Sellers.
Yeah, shout out to Mike. Shout out to Big Mike, man. I think we're going to have to put that in the works. So that does it for our greatest Redskins countdown, and that does it for Hail to the Culture. Final thoughts, Rome? What you think, man?
Hey, man, let's go out to New York. Let's get this W. Let's change our fortunes up in New York City, man. Washington needs this dub bad, man. We got to stay on top.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get it. Let's get it. We need this win. Let's not make it a trap game. Let's turn the corner right here, fellas. Redskins Nation, stand up, stand strong. Tweet us at HTTR Culture. We're going to be watching the game. We'll probably be live tweeting during the game, so interact with us, show us some love, and we'll show it back. Appreciate you all for listening. Once again, this is the Hail to the Culture, a Washington Redskins podcast, brought to you by Gas Sports for the Culture.
Free world.
We out.
Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline, tape up and shape up.